What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new to the channel, I know there's been a few people who've joined recently. I want to say welcome and great to have you, and thanks for tuning in, thanks for the support. Today I'm sitting down and going through the most recent tournament that happened, the Bayside Cup presented by Kingfisher Disc Golf. And I'm sitting down doing a bit of a different style today, and please let me know if you like this style or not. But basically I'm just going to walk through particularly the second round because that was the most interesting. I'll recap the first round as well. I'm going to show some shots from the rounds while I'm talking and just kind of explain what was happening for my round, and then also on the card and the overall how it all shook out, because it was a very interesting tournament, and as I said in some of my recap posts, the most intense, wild, crazy tournament of my year so far. But without further ado, let's jump in. So we'll start off with round one, and I'll just touch on that a little bit briefly. I'm looking at my scores to see what I did in the round. It started off great. I threw an amazing drive on the first hole, which I think I started on hole 10, and threw an awesome flip-up shot with my Meteor. Almost ace it to start off with, tap in birdie. It was amazing. Couldn't ask for a better start than that, and so I thought, great, this is feeling good. And then it went on a bit of a slow stretch and came to hole 13, which is an island hole. You got to make it over the water carry the whole way. It's only 60 meters, but it's a very short, but I just didn't throw my zone hard enough and threw it straight into the water. I went to the drop zone, which is still got to cross the water. It's not an easy shot, so I threw the forehand again and made it across and had pretty much an easy tap in for my bogey, but then proceeded to clank that off the cage and tap in for a double bogey. And from there, my confidence was absolutely shook. Bang. My putting was atrocious. I missed, including that one, 4 to 5 circle one putts, but not even just circle one, some were literal tap-ins. And it was quite unfortunate because I was actually throwing the disc really well. I was putting myself in scoring position to get the birdies. And on a course like this, where it's very, very short, when you keep on missing the birdie, you give yourself chances and then miss the putts, it feels like you're just going backwards. So the funny thing was, I was missing these short putts, but then I was canning massive long ones towards the end of the round.
Go. Yeah! Yeah.
Then on the next hole, elevator basket, death putt, drop off behind the basket, from edge of circle, proceed to can that one as well. So putting was all over the place and I wasn't feeling confident at all. Ended up finishing at 3 down, which isn't very good at all. It was rated 934, so just under my rating, but it felt far worse. And with the shots that I was throwing, it should have been a lot higher, or a lot lower score, I guess. Funnily enough though, or strangely enough, I was actually in a tied for 3rd. So 2 people, Hayden and Joe, were both on 8 under, so 5 shots ahead, and I was on 3 under as well as a couple of people as well. So, 5 shots back on this sort of a course. I wasn't feeling very hopeful or confident, but I said to someone, I think after the round, I want to try and shoot double digits. You never know what can happen, but if I shoot double digits next round, then maybe I might have a shot at, tying or maybe getting the win. So if we move on to round 2 then, we started off on a pretty simple hole, and I think we all but one of us took birdie there. And I should mention too, so the lead card was Hayden, Joe, Daniel Small and myself. And yeah, we all birdied our first hole. We birdied hole 3. We were all kind of playing solid, and I wasn't really gaining too many strokes on many people, and I knew I'd have to make up a lot of strokes to come back and make up the 5-stroke deficit. So I was playing clean though, and actually put on a really solid stretch of holes. I birdied hole 5, 6.
Fucking launch. Come on.
That might be ease. That's a chance. That's a chance.
What was that like little step?
And 7.
That's fantastic. Get in the basket.
Oh, what a shot. Thank you. Use the backspin again. Thanks.
And was getting some strokes back there. And when we approached sort of holes 9 to 12, that's when things started to get pretty interesting. Hayden was getting some really unfortunate kicks. He was just a little bit off on his tee shots, and I think maybe 3 or 4 holes in a row was throwing OB. Meanwhile, Daniel Small was on an absolute tear. He birdied, I'm looking here, birdied 6 in a row from hole 5 to hole 10. So he was playing really well. I was getting a few birdies, and Joe was kind of a bit up and down, not quite on fire as well. So it started to be the case that Daniel and I started to actually make a push, and I wasn't sure of the scores, but I knew that we were getting a lot back. So we were kind of jumping up, and Joe and Hayden were falling off a little bit, and the vibe was completely different to when we started the round. So I had kept it clean. I think I was sitting at 7 down through 10 holes or something. So playing really clean, and we come to hole 13 again, the island hole. I just said, just throw it long, just go long, because there's no OB back there, just go long, play for par if you need to. So I tried to put more on it, and I thought, oh, that's easily long. But I had a little too high, and it stalled and actually came almost backwards, it felt like, and was OB. So again, I chipped in from the drop zone, ended up in a very similar spot, maybe a touch closer than where I was in round 1 for the tap-in bogey, and missed that again. Literally the exact same thing. I ended up double bogeying that hole. So that put me at 4 over on that hole over the 2 rounds. So that was kind of crushing, because I was kind of making all this progress, and then I just drop myself back 2 spots. So at that point, probably Daniel was in the lead. Hayden was kind of around there, and Joe unfortunately took a few. I think he took a double or a triple there as well. So I was a bit devastated, but I managed to bounce back with a really good birdie on the next hole, and got another birdie on 16, and was keeping it pretty clean. We got to hole 18, so at that point we had 3 holes left, and at that point I checked my phone and I wanted to know the scores, and I thought I would have dropped back a fair bit after that double bogey. Turns out Hayden, with a few birdies, had jumped back up, and he was 1 stroke ahead of both Daniel and myself. So Hayden was 1 stroke ahead, and we had 3 holes to go. Hole 18, par 4. I put myself in a good position to attack for the birdie, but my approach shot left a little bit to be desired. Daniel, unfortunately, he had a really tough hole on hole 18, and through a few unfortunate OBs, he ended up taking a triple bogey. So at that point, with only 2 holes to go, he was kind of out of it. I had an obstructed putt behind a tree to try and get up and down for my par, which should have been super easy, but instead I tried to jump putt it, and I squared the tree up and then missed my circle 1 putt for the par, so I took a bogey. So the situation then was that we had 2 holes to play, and Hayden took a par, so he was up by 2 shots. We moved to hole 1, which is a really short but OB riddled hole, really tricky. Hayden threw his shot, and we all thought it was out of bounds. It actually went through out of bounds, and somehow kicked off a tree or slid inbounds to circle 1, which we didn't realize actually until we walked up to the drive. I threw actually one of my best shot on that hole all weekend, and was pretty close to parked for a birdie, which I was really stoked about, because it's a pretty technical short backhand turnover shot. So we walk up there. Hayden had the circle 1 putt to make the birdie, and I thought, well, this is kind of, if he makes this, it's all over, because that's, if I make birdie, it's still 2 strokes with 1 hole to play. That's almost, you can't really hope for that on this sort of a course. But kind of to all of our shock, and his own shock as well, I'm sure, chained out right, so I took a par. I made the birdie putt, so then we were down 1 stroke with 1 hole to play. And it was one of my favorite holes on the course, but a technical, tricky par 4. I threw a roller down and actually got it to a pretty decent spot, and Hayden wasn't in an ideal spot. He hit kind of early, but then threw just a launch of a shot, basically playing for par and forcing me to get the birdie. And unfortunately, I was kind of stuck up against this tree, and ideally I would have taken the backhand line around the OB clump that you can see that's kind of in front of the basket. I had to clear that or go around it to give myself a chance at the birdie, and I needed to birdie really to push the playoff and tie Hayden. But I was stuck and had to go the forehand option, which really wasn't ideal and was tougher to get to the basket, but I thought I'd pull out a fast overstable disc, hopefully just get some big fade and skip and give me a chance at the birdie. And I executed it pretty well, but it hit a tree, kind of rolled back, almost went OB, but stayed safe with maybe a 9-10 10-meter edge of circle putt to make the birdie. Hayden meanwhile pitched up and was under the basket for par, so I needed to make this putt for birdie on a difficult hole to force a playoff. I don't know how that stayed in, but it did, and my goodness, the emotions that I felt that just rushed out of my body at that point, it was crazy. It was just a wild feeling, and it was so nice. Like, Hayden came up, was the first to congratulate me. My card mates were stoked, Joe and Daniel, so it was really awesome. And yeah, I just did not even think that I would, after the first round, be in any chance at going for the win. So to do that and force the playoff was just awesome. And so we went back to hole 1, which we'd literally just played before, and I won the toss. So I said, Hayden, you go first. You try to put the pressure on him to put it in bounds, and then I'll go second, and I'll let us play through. This is how it unfolded.
Right, let's get some good shots. No need for trees this time.
No.
Oh, I love it, Hayden. That's so good.
Come
in the basket.
out. You're safe.
Oh, yeah. What a shot. Nice shot, mate.
Oh, good.
That was scary.
Same as before.
Oh,
Turn,
keep
baby,
going.
turn.
Dang it. Keep right.
Kick.
Nah. Got a chance to putt it. That's right.
So Hayden threw a great drive. Thought it was going to be too long or too turned over, but it was perfect, basically parked for the birdie. And unfortunately, I couldn't follow up on my great shot from round 2. Went out of bounds, and so didn't really have much. Just tried to throw it in for the par to make something happen. But Hayden made the birdie anyway, so he took it out. So it was so tough to come so close, but I really couldn't be disappointed because I was just so stoked to play such a good round to even get back into conversation for the win. So ended up shooting an 8 down for the second round, which that was with a double bogey and a bogey as well. So there were 11 birdies out there, which was pretty awesome, and it ended up being my highest ever rated round at 993 rated. So super stoked with that. I am still chasing the 1,000 rated round for the year. I'm sure that will come soon, but huge shout out to Hayden. He really managed to turn it around there after having a pretty rough stretch in the middle of the round, and fought back and was able to make the plays when it counted, and put that tee shot on the playoff, or during the playoff, inbounds, which put the pressure back on me. So well played by him. That's the recap. Let me know down below if you enjoyed this sort of recap, me talking through the tournament. Hopefully it wasn't too boring, and seeing those shots and maybe me explaining it helped you to kind of understand what the feeling was like in that playoff and trying to fight for that playoff. And yeah, just let me know if you want to see any sorts of these videos. If you want whatever sort of video you want to see, please let me know down below. I want to make stuff that you guys want to enjoy, so I'm open to all sorts of suggestions, whether that's in the bag video, more challenges, more battles, crazy stuff. Hit me with it and I'll see if we can make it happen. So make sure you stay tuned for more fun content coming. I hope that you have all enjoyed the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for the support. I hope you've had a wonderful day. Make sure you make it great for somebody else as well, and we'll catch you in the next one.